Hello everyone, I'm Zand, and I've got a different type of series of videos coming out for you over the next probably 1 to 2 weeks. So the PGL Season 18 just started up. We just finished the draft. It's a really cool draft, and this is like my favorite league, I'll be honest. No offense to any of the other ones I'm in, but this is like my home league. This is the one that when I quit Pokemon for probably years, stumbled across, draft again, ended up finding Memes League. But this is not really a story of my history in the PGL. Regardless, I wanted to do something to kind of give back to the coaches and, you know, let them present themselves. Like, a lot of these people are really smart, really good at Pokemon, and I wanted to give them a chance to speak about their teams, go over how they felt about themselves and other people. And so I'm going to do an interview style, just like what you're seeing on screen now. It's going to be kind of podcast style, so no need to really watch. I'll throw the Pokemon sprites or the relevant things we're talking about on screen as they come up. But for the most part, it's just going to be a low-key, I'm asking questions to some of the different coaches of the PGL, seeing how their draft went, letting them yap for a while. Everybody loves to talk about their team, and yeah, we're going to go from there. As a little intro, I might as well do my own team, I suppose. I'll interview myself. It's going to sound a little weird, but yeah, might as well go over my own team because I think it's pretty good. I want to talk about it, so consider this like my own draft analysis for myself. But I'm going to do it with my own interview questions so that it kind of matches the format of everything else. We're going to have these coming out 1 to 2 times a day. We're going to have a bunch of different coaches. I think I've got interest from almost the entire league, which is super exciting. Just little videos to kind of help you spend your day, you know, while you're eating lunch or taking some time to get some work done. If you want to throw some a light conversation on in the background, feel free to tune in. So without further ado, we'll get into my draft questions. So the first thing I always ask is how my opponent's doing, and I talk about their accolades a little bit. So my accolades, I've been in the PGL for 6 or 7 seasons at this point. The first season I was in the PGL, I was the champion somehow. I made a couple of really risky reads. I won one of the battles based off of a miscalc from both me and my opponent because I had a flail megalopony that was showing it was at a certain percent, but it was actually lower than that. So the flail did way more damage than either of us expected, and I ended up getting a KO I shouldn't have gotten, which got me playoffs, which got me all the way to the championship. It was super good. I wish I could review those games. I think they may be long gone. Regardless, outside of that, I've done a lot of Smogon low tier. I do a lot of other drafts. I'm in the UNPL pretty regularly. I'm in some other ones. I can't even think off the top of my head, but I ended up going top 16 in Smogon's first low tier tour, and I write a lot of the Smogon analyses for low tier Pokemon. So I'm not an expert, but I do know way too much about these type of Pokemon. So going into this draft, I had honestly just a handful of Pokemon that I really wanted to take. So this draft is low tier as mentioned. The budget is relatively tight, so you can't really take more than 2 or 3 high tiers or you're going to be really hurting for points later. The low tiers are pretty horrible. Usually when you get about past 6 points, like anything 5 points and below, you're gonna really have to dig to find some value in the things down there. So definitely a struggle. Definitely got to play your budget a little better than probably what I did. This is probably the most top heavy draft I have ever had. Terra caps, you could use up to 15 points on 2 to 3 caps. There's no like tax or anything, so no worries there. And there were some cool Terra Pokemon. There were some complexes, but I don't think too many of them are going to come into play. So yeah, my thought process going into this draft was I wanted to use something I hadn't used in low tier before and something I've seen do really well. So I think when I was in UNPL low tier, Dapper had drafted Crocodile, and it looked so strong, so fun. And then you're throwing us Nat Dex move pool. So this is all Nat Dex. Hidden Power, Pursuit are not allowed, so that nerfs Crocodile a little bit. But otherwise, it's really strong. It gets so much coverage. It can do so many different things with Intimidate and Moxie. So I just really liked it as a round 1. I had a couple more in mind. I think Haxorus was definitely on my list of Pokemon. Trying to think of others that went round 1 that I was considering. I think Crocodile was actually my second most wanted outside of Haxorus. If Haxorus had gotten me, Starmie. So Jay Scriff and I agreed that Starmie was probably best mon on the board. overall in terms of just pure roll compression, speed, typing. Everything about it is just unbelievably good for this board. But I ended up getting Crocodile. Oh, and I ended up being the wheel pick. So I said right before the league started, I passed Meme 20 bucks and a Wordle answer, and he was going to give me a wheel pick. And sure enough, when the 16 coaches got randomized, I was pick number 16, which is pretty funny. So that means I don't get to make one pick. I get to make 2 picks, but I pick half as often as everybody else, essentially. It's kind of how it works out. So I could always guarantee synergy, but I had to wait a very long time to pick up Pokemon, so a lot of them got taken between my picks. So first pick, I took Crocodile and also took Crobat. So I really liked Crobat as a Pokemon that fits Crocodile, like really works well with the weaknesses and resistances for each other. They're both weak to ice, but otherwise they cover each other really well outside of Crocodile being weak to water. Scald is redistributed, and Crobat doesn't want to get burned. So that was kind of a little bit of a headache. So that was kind of the thought on pick 3, which was almost a disaster. So I went with Basculegion as my 3rd round pick, thinking that I could get both male and female, because right now my team is all physical. I wanted a special breaker. I wanted a water type that didn't care about being scald burnt. And I wanted a water type with good secondary coverage. So I was between Basculegion and Volcanion, and ended up settling on Basculegion. We had a little bit of discourse in the Discord because technically Basculegion was banned. Basculegion female was banned in the rule set, but that was just because it was a secondary form. So all the Oricorios were banned as well, and then in the draft rules they were allowed. So I got to take Basculegion, and we can talk other Pokemon in a minute, but I just think Basculegion is a super cool piece of this team. I think it really threatens a lot of the bulky waters that check other water types, so I'm really excited to use it there. And then I just think it really fits the synergy, the build of the team otherwise. A couple other Pokemon I'd like to just kind of elaborate on a little bit. I'm not going to talk about my low tiers because those are relatively broad for surprises, so I don't really want to show my hand in what they can do. But we've got 2 Terra Caps. We've got the Aggron and the Exeggutor. I honestly wanted Terra Exeggutor Alola, but it was 1 point more expensive than regular Exeggutor, which is pretty depressing because Aggron plus Alola and Eggy would have been super sick. I love having a Dragon type on a team, and especially when Steel types are hard to come by. I think Dragon is a very spammable type, but a lot of people did get pretty solid fairies, so I think not missing out too much there. Terra Aggron, I think I was the 2nd person to take a Terra Captain on this board. I love Aggron. I've wanted to use it for a long time. Its typing is horrible and really holds it back. It's really weak to ground and it's really weak to fighting, and those are 2 of the most common stab or coverage types you'll ever see. So actually getting it in a way that it can change types and do whatever it wants is really good to me. It makes it surprisingly flexible with like body press sets, rock polish sets, just general attacking sets. It can be utility with Endeavor, Custat Berry, things like that. It's got the rock head smash if I really wanted to run that as a really strong move. I think it's really cool. And then Exeggutor kind of does the opposite. It's more of a flex slot. If I don't really like the Aggron matchup, I have Exeggutor that can do things like Leech Seed with Substitute, Harvest Citrus Berry, but it can also be a really potent attacker with its really high special attack. The mixture of Psychic Grass and whatever Terra type I make it, Terra Blast, is just really hard for teams to deal with. I can either set Sun to double its speed, or I can Trick Room to underspeed everything. So I just think it's a super fun mon. And then Slurpuff was probably my most overpriced pick. There was things like Mega Audino that I could have taken. Aromatisse got taken before I could get my hands on it. But I wanted a Fairy Cleric. But Slurpuff just brings such an unbelievable amount of utility. It has the Sticky Web, it has Belly Drum, it has Calm Mind. Looking at Pokemon that I wanted that didn't end up going to me, I would say J-Scarf taking Tinkaton. I did not expect it to make it back to me, but if it did, I would have taken Basculegion plus Tinkaton with zero thought behind it. Tinkaton is so unbelievable on this board. I wanted Aromatisse a bit, but I didn't want it enough to take it over Aggron because I thought Aggron was going to go fairly soon, and I was right. It would have went right after me if I hadn't taken it. So kind of left me looking for a little bit. The biggest snipe, I would say, a lot of my team was picked when it was my turn, so I didn't really give it a whole lot of thought beforehand, just kind of a little bit of head scratching here and there, like what would be good on this team. The one thing I thought had really funny synergy was Pincurchin. So after I grabbed my Slurpuff Exeggutor, I still needed a fire, fighting, and an electric. And I ended up settling on either Blaziken or Paldean Tauros as my fire fighting, but I still needed an electric type. And Pincurchin with the electric terrain really, really bad Pokemon. I know a lot of people take it, it ends up doing nothing for them. It just feels bad. But in low tier, it can actually do things with, I think it gets Rising Voltage with Nat Dex, so it can actually do some damage. It gets that water coverage, it gets both spikes and toxic spikes, Memento. Most importantly, it sets the electric terrain, which means I can put an electric seed on Slurpuff and run absolutely disgusting Calm Mindsets with Draining Kiss, where I would have +1 defense, I could easily boost my special side, and then just absolutely train roll through teams. Unfortunately, that did not end up happening because someone who very much likes Pincurchin, because they had a Future Paradox Pokemon, took it. I ended up having to grab those pieces elsewhere. I ended up taking Deidane instead, which is fine. Deidane is a totally usable electric type for the price. You got the Lopunny, the Tentacool, and then the Tauros Blaze was just kind of like, I need a breaker. I need another really strong breaker on this team. Basculegion's my special breaker, Crocodile's a cleaner, Crobat's a good utility mon, but I really need something on the physical side that gives me some nice typing coverage, helps me hit things that this team struggles with otherwise, and Tauros is that. I think it's fantastic. I've never used the Paldean Tauros forms, so I'm super excited to give it a shot. So that's how I feel about my draft. That's kind of knocking out the top half of my interview questions. As far as what teams there are to beat this season, there's a few that really stand out to me as strong. Obviously, I'll cover these in my interviews with other coaches, but I really want to point out, well, the 3 people I build with. Obviously, I know their thought process. So J-Scurf, Cham, and Halatos are fantastic builders. They all built super unique teams, all teams that are very different from each other. And I think you're going to hear from all 3 of them as we go. So look forward to that. I think Killer Jays might have the best coverage in terms of Terra Captains with Lapras, Electabuzz, and Murkrow. I think they're all 3 totally usable. Electabuzz really appreciates the offensive Terra for something like Ice or Fairy to hit things that would come in on its electric moves, or Grass, of course, is a good option. Lapras might be one of the strongest general Terra Caps I've ever seen, because it could be a Trapper, Special Attacker, Physical Sweeper. There's very little limit to what Lapras can do, and its bulk is only held back by its Ice type, so getting rid of that makes it a very good Pokemon in general. So those are a few that stand out to me. Pokemon that didn't go on the board that I thought should have. This is a great question. I think as far as Terra Caps go, I really like the Alolan Exeggutor. I thought it would go. It's pretty much Hydrapple without Regenerator, but very offensive, a lot of great moves, really hard to knock out in one hit, especially with Terra. So that one honestly really surprises me. Maybe I overvalue Exeggutor and it's not going to do anything for me, but I think it's really solid. Other things, I think both Goodra and Hisuian Goodra, that one catches me a little off guard, because Goodra is such a splashable Pokemon on any team. No matter what the week is, you know it's going to do something for you. So the fact that neither of those got taken speaks to how tight the budget was on this draft and how people may not have valued those dragon types as much as they normally would in a normal draft. And then number 1 for me is Gyarados. I'm going to probably mention it in like half the interviews. Gyarados has Power Whip and Temper Flare back, and it has insane coverage. The only thing it can't do is hit a consistent flying type move, because I think it only gets Bounce, and can't Terra, obviously. So I think that Pokemon is definitely just waiting for someone to not do well for a couple games, dump half their team, and pick up Gyarados and run away with the rest of the season. So that's kind of what I've got going. Final thoughts, really. I hope you enjoy the other videos. We've got several other coaches. I'm going to try to do my best to get the audio as nice as possible. I know everybody's running on variable microphones. I'm going to try to curb, normalize the sound, get some nice little visuals on screen. I hope you enjoy listening to everyone, because I know this is a passion for a lot of people. It's just the way to play this game. It's so fun to put the time and effort into building a big team. And it doesn't always feel great, because obviously if there's winners, there's got to be losers. So sometimes you can have a really good team, but you just end up not building as well as your opponent did in that specific week, or you have some issues otherwise, you get unlucky, you have the horrible schedule, which I'm feeling right now. And so you feel like all that work is kind of wasted. But I think just putting a team together, putting the time and effort and thought into it is always worth it, because it's kind of an expression of yourself, and you get to play games with your friends, which is always a good time. So super looking forward to hearing from all the coaches I haven't heard from yet. I hope you're looking forward to hearing from them as well, and we will see you all soon.